it says that God made a garden. Everything inside that garden was absolutely beautiful. He made a man, named him Adam, took him, put him in the garden. And every day it says, God came down at the end of the day and would walk with him in the garden. And that God and man had a perfect relationship. Adam realizes this and he says out loud, there's no one like me. And so, God puts Adam to sleep, takes out his rib, makes woman. It says their relationship was absolutely perfect. They never had to hide. They never had to pretend to be somebody, wondering if that person was going to be able to love them. In the garden that God put there, he said, you can eat from any tree you want to, but there's one tree at the center of the garden. You are not to eat from that tree. He says, because on the day you do it, you'll die. Eve, one day, is by that tree. It says that there was a serpent, and the serpent was sitting in the tree and chatting with Eve. And the first question it throws out is this: did God really say to you, you can't eat from any of these trees? And what he basically was doing is he's trying to cast doubt. Trying to make Eve question, what is it that God said? And what did he mean by that? And Eve says, no, you can eat from any tree except for this one. And then the serpent said, that's because he knows that the day you eat of it, you will be like God. Do you guys remember where I said where the tree was? It was in the
middle of the garden.
The middle of the garden. That means for Eve to get to this tree, she has to walk by everything else that would be an unbelievable blessing in her life. She's walking by everything else that would bring her life, happiness, blessing, contentment, desire, hope. And she realized that the fruit is desirable. And then all of a sudden she started thinking about it. And if I eat from this, I'll be like a god. In other words, I'll be in total control of my own story. She took it and she ate. And then he says she took the fruit and she gave it to Adam, who was with her. And it says all of a sudden both of their eyes were opened. And when it says both of their eyes were opened, it doesn't mean like they weren't seeing clearly before. It means that all of a sudden they were seeing things that they didn't want to see. And it says for the very first time, they were afraid. And it says they went ahead and they hid behind a bush and they're trying to cover themselves up. And why does that happen? The same reason it happens today. We're too afraid to be real. And why are we too afraid to be real? Because we're too afraid that if you really found out who I am, you wouldn't like me. And Jesus comes walking in the garden like he normally does. Only this time he knows there's something terribly wrong. He already knew what had taken place. Loved them, cared for them, provided for them, did everything he could to make sure it was a blessing. He did all of that. And he knew they had gone ahead and made the choice that they wanted to be their own God. How many of you have ever had your heart broken? Let's be real. Let's be real. Yeah. If you have ever come to God and said, God, can you understand the pain that I'm going through right now? God remembers that time back in the garden when he looked at those he had loved completely. And all of a sudden they had gone ahead and said, not good enough. We think you're holding out on us. We think there's something better over here. The first person whose heart was broken in a relationship was God. And he says these words, where are you? That question that God asked, where are you? He's asking the same question to each one of you here. He's asking, where are you? And not that he doesn't know where you are. He wants you to tell him, this is where I'm at. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. This is where I'm hurting. This is what's broken in my story. Here's the most beautiful thing about God. He asks the question, where are you? And then Jesus says this, I have come to find those who are lost. And lost why? Because the broken story that they're living in has brought them to the place where they have to feel like they have to hide from the world. And Jesus is saying this, I've come to find you. I've come to find you. I'm not waiting for you to find me. I'm coming to find you.